In the year 1959, at the very edge of our planet, a young scientist vanished into the white abyss. His name was Dennis Bell. For decades, his disappearance remained one of Antarctica's quiet mysteries, whispered only among those who dared to face its endless ice. But in 2025, more than 60 years later, something was found. His body, perfectly preserved, frozen, as if time itself had chosen to keep him. And with that discovery, new questions emerged. Questions far colder, far darker than the ice itself. Tonight, we journey back to the frozen frontier of the Earth, to the final days of Dennis Bell, and to the mystery that may never melt away. Antarctica, a land untouched, unforgiving, and unbroken. In the late 1950s, this frozen continent was a place of both great discovery and great danger. Nations were racing to establish research bases, eager to unlock the secrets of the ice. Beneath its frozen shell, scientists believed there were answers to Earth's past. Ancient climates, meteorites from space, even hints about life itself. But for those who dared to explore it, survival was never guaranteed. Dennis Bell was one of those explorers, a young scientist from Britain, barely in his late 20s, chosen to join the British Antarctic Survey in 1959. He was intelligent, ambitious, but also quiet. In letters home, he often spoke of the beauty of the ice, describing how the snow sparkled under the midnight sun. But he also wrote of the silence, a silence so deep that it felt alive. He was stationed at a remote outpost, miles away from the main base. The small wooden huts huddled together like fragile matchboxes against the endless white. Inside, the heaters rattled, radios crackled with static, and the men clung to routine to fight off the creeping isolation. There were 6 of them in total. 6 men, alone in a land of ice and shadow. By day, they studied ice cores, weather patterns, and distant mountain ranges. By night, they wrote in their journals, shared canned rations, and listened to the howling winds outside. And yet, in this vast emptiness, Dennis began to notice something strange. He wrote in his journal about voices, faint, distant voices carried on the wind. At first, he thought it was his mind playing tricks, echoes of his companions' conversations bleeding through the cold. But sometimes, when he stepped outside the hut at night, he swore he heard his name being whispered. Dennis. Dennis. The others dismissed it. Antarctica, they said, could drive a man to hear things. The emptiness was like a mirror, reflecting your own fears back at you. But Dennis didn't let it go. He kept writing about the voices.
Space componente em backspace doing efforts of higher small distorted flows. If you can employ the ventilation, there's got to lanes of viable.
And soon, there was something else. On March 18th, 1959, Dennis noted in his log, "Saw a figure today, far out on the ridge. Thought it was John at first, but he was still inside. When I looked again, it was gone." The others laughed it off. "A mirage," they said. "A trick of the light." But Dennis seemed troubled. He described the figure in more detail. Tall, wrapped in something dark, standing still against the endless white. Watching. Always watching. In the weeks that followed, storms grew worse. Snow buried the huts, winds screamed like freight trains, and supplies dwindled. The men were exhausted, hungry, and fraying at the edges. But Dennis was changing. He was quieter, distracted. Sometimes the others caught him staring at the frozen horizon for hours, as if waiting. And then, he began leaving messages, strange notes scrawled on scraps of paper tucked into his journal. One simply read, "It's calling me." Another, "The ice remembers." The others grew concerned. Was Dennis breaking under the strain, or was he seeing something they could not? On the morning of March 23rd, Dennis Bell vanished. The door to the hut was found open. His boots were gone. His coat taken. The last footprint trailed off into the storm. They searched for him for hours, calling his name into the white void. But the wind swallowed their voices. The ice gave no answer. And Dennis Bell was never seen again. Not until 2025. 2025, more than 6 decades after Dennis Bell disappeared. A scientific expedition from Chile stumbled upon something buried deep within the Larsen ice shelf. They had been drilling for ice cores when a section of blue ice collapsed, revealing a frozen cavity. Inside it, a figure, perfectly preserved, his clothes intact, his skin pale but untouched by decay. It was Dennis Bell, as if he had only just stepped outside yesterday and fallen asleep in the snow. But there was something else. In his frozen hand, clutched tightly against his chest, was a small leather-bound journal. It waits beneath. The ice remembers. I cannot escape its voice. The pages were strange. Some were filled with scientific notes, temperature records, sketches of snow formations, diagrams of the stars. But between them, there were frantic writings, words written over and over again, sometimes scrawled in the margins as if written in haste. It follows me, not alone out here. It's older than we know. The discovery shook the scientific community. Had Dennis simply succumbed to isolation, his mind fracturing in the endless silence? Or had he truly seen something out there beyond the white horizon?